25. It is the X.
Wow, we had an amazing Bassmaster Classic. Awesome to see Easton Fothergill come away with a victory. We picked him. He's turning around our fantasy fishing season in just one event. But we've got a mystery river, a mystery venue coming up in the Pasquotank River, Albemarle Sound, a North Carolina estuary, saltwater, freshwater, small amount of tides, not a lot of tournament industry. Is this a place where somebody like Greg Hackney can come back, get his season on track, come out with a big win? Does this fit his skills? Or maybe some other shallow powder water anglers?
Juicy ones.
Or are we going to see the young guns continue to be a big factor? Or are we going to see another event where like somebody like Bill Lowen, a veteran, power fishes their way to another blue trophy? Let's unpack this. Let's figure it out. Let's make some fantasy fishing picks. First, let's recognize the winners of the Classic for the Beat HellaBass group. So first up, congratulations, Fish Sticks, Abe Berkey, you're the winner. I sent you a note through the Bassmaster messaging system. Try to get back to me. We'll get you hooked up with your Omnia Pro fishing prize. Hopping over to Drain the Lake leaderboard. Dustin D. Cook, congratulations on your big Drain the Lake score. I'm sure you must have picked Easton Fothergill as well. You're going to be hooked up with Omnia Pro as well. Sent you a note as well. If you're not familiar with Omnia Pro, it's an upgrade to the already free Omnia fishing app where you can do shopping, but you're going to get 10% rewards back on all your purchases, get special member select deep discount sales, free shipping, no minimum order, so you can literally buy like one pack of Senkos, one spool of line, free shipping. Awesome. Not to mention all the great map layers and things that'll help you break down fisheries that you're going to fish and put you on fish faster. And we'll talk about more of that when we break down the Pasquotank River using the Omnia Pro app on the web version. If you can't wait to see if you're going to win, you can use the code HBPRO to get half off your Omnia Pro subscription. Many of you already have. Awesome to see that. People are getting tons of value from the app, and follow along. You can see what it's all about. So there'll be a link down in the description if you want to check out the Omnia Pro app, and they have a 7 free day trial if you just want to check that out as well. But thank you to Omnia for powering the Fantasy Fishing Beat HellaBass group this year. And even if you don't want to try Omnia Pro, there's a discount code in the description below that'll save you 15% off at Omnia Fishing, and you can try out their fast shipping and great customer service and their great selection of fishing stuff. So let's hop on over. Let's check out the Pasquotank River. So let's check out North Carolina. Let's dig into this. Let's find, here we are, Pasquotank River. It's a big system here. We can look at different map layers here on the Omnia. They're launching out of the Pasquotank at the mouth. They have access to the bay here, and I think this is the Albemarle Sound right in here. Pasquotank River follows this up here, which is a popular section to fish. Anglers also may run over to the Roanoke and Chowan Rivers, which are up these other arms, which there's a fairly big bay here to cross. Also notice that there's some fishing reports here for the North River, where we're seeing some bass caught. We can just check the fishing reports in this whole area versus just look at any one of these pins. And we can see people are catching them on spinnerbaits in the North River, Senkos in the North River, got some redfish, not a surprise, being this close to the coast. And then here's a nice bass caught on a swim bait, talking about fishing bridge pilings and rocks with a K-Tech swimmer here. So definitely bass in this area, some quality fish. You can see some of the lures. A lot of this is pre-spawn type reports. One interesting thing I think here is there's not a ton of data, not a ton of fishing reports, but we do get a little glimpse here. But one of the interesting things I think to look here is look at the weather layers and look at wind. When you're dealing with big water like this, right, you can see how wind can affect this pretty big open water here. So if anglers are going to leave the Pasquotank and try to go up the Chowan or the Roanoke, wind could and will be a factor. So we can start to look at the 7-day forecast, start to look out towards those tournament days and see if these winds shift at all and how that could affect travel in the tournament and during practice. Another cool thing, when you're faced with a body of water like this, they have map pins. You can turn on boat landings. So this is a really key thing. And it's like, if I'm an elite angler or a tournament angler practicing for this, to be able to pop on these map pins for boat landings when I'm looking, and like if I got a strong wind, am I going to traverse this basically ocean to get up these rivers? No, I'm going to go drive to these boat landings and pop that open in my Omnia app. So cool features to check out. you know, whether you're applying it to this fishery itself or your home fishery or new fisheries that you're going to on a family trip or a new tournament venue. Pretty cool stuff. But I think this just shows you how big this venue is and how much of a challenge it will be. Anglers trying to get this pre-fishing done in 3 days if they didn't do a practice run ahead of the off limits, and how are they going to navigate the wind and the travel and all the conditions that may come with this tournament, you know, salinity, water shifts, things like that. That being said, let's jump over to Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing and get our picks going. We're going to start out with the traditional fantasy fishing game. We'll talk pick'em, and then we'll do drain the lake for fantasy fishing as well. Really good classic for me. Got me from in the red up into the light green. So we're getting our season back on track here. We got the winner right in both the Bassmaster and the Drain the Lake game. Starting in bucket E, as I like to do, sort by ownership here. You know, I think Matt Airy, being a North Carolina guy, is somebody to think about. Easton Fothergill coming off a classic win. JT Tompkins has got a win on the Chesapeake Bay and a Bassmaster Open. You know, Steve Kennedy, this probably, if you're looking for a high risk, high reward type of angler, he's somebody to look at here as well. Ed Lofgren from the Virginia area, maybe he's got some experience. Jason Williamson being a South Carolina, you know, Alex Weatherall from Connecticut. I think the Connecticut River tidal situation, not a stranger to him. Andrew Loberg, Delta, you know, these are anglers that have that experience with these kind of tidal estuary type situations. But to me, my understanding, there's a fair amount of cypress trees, and I'm going to go with Greg Hackney. This should set up well for him. He's really good. We've seen him on the St. Johns River in targeting cypress trees on that fishery. Anytime there's cypress trees, it seems like Greg Hackney is a player. So I'm going to go ahead and take him for bucket E and look for him to get his season back on track and try to get points mounted to try to make that 26 Bassmaster Classic. Bucket D, immediately I started to think about Brandon Lester, a veteran who knows, he's kind of seen it all. He's been on the Elite Series for 10 plus years. He's been to Winyah Bay. He's been to all these tidal fisheries. Not afraid to get up, mix it up shallow. Always a contender, shallow power fishing. Knows, you know, nothing's going to surprise him. You know, probably made some big runs at Sabine, things like that. Something to think about there. Drew Benton, if there's a sight fishing, this could play well for him. Caleb Summerall, being from Louisiana, knows his way around cypress trees most definitely. Kyle Patrick, East Coast, Northeast, you know, does he know something? Oh, we've seen Pat Schlopper do well at Santee Cooper. Paul Mueller's done well on river systems in the past. Logan Latuso, you know, looking at anglers that could make some, but for some reason, I want to go Stetson Blaylock here. He won on Winyah Bay in 2019, which I have to feel is somewhat of a similar fishery, at least in the fact that they're making big runs and choosing which arms to go up. It's been a while since Stetson got a win. That's his only win. He's a veteran as well, much like Lester. Nothing's going to shock him. Not going to be scared to make the runs. So I think, I don't know, I'm going Stetson Blaylock here in bucket D. Bucket C, J-Pow, you know, geographically, probably one of the closest anglers. And being that it's spring, you can see him leveraging a swim jig, a bladed jig, and a wacky rig to do very well in this tournament around cypress trees and other cover. Brandon Cobb, maybe a buzzbait, see that. Tyler Rivette will probably feel comfortable here. Kyle Welcher, river guy. John Cruz, geographically pretty close. I don't know if he put any pre-practice in. You know, Brandon Card's getting a lot of love. He loves the Senko. That should play well here. But I'm going to go Luke Palmer, a little bit down the list here against the players here. But I just feel, you know, he's got a win at Santee Cooper. He's done well there around cypress trees. That Oklahoma grittiness, spinnerbait, flipping should do well here. And Luke Palmer was always a guy you could depend on for fantasy fishing. He's had his ups and downs lately since he's got his win. But I think I can depend on Luke Palmer for bucket C in this event. Trey McKinney getting the headline in bucket B. Seems like he's a dominant force everywhere we go. Wouldn't be surprised to see him catch him here. We saw Drew Gill do well in a June tournament on the Chowan River, which is part of this system. The Johnson brothers, pretty successful everywhere. Drew Cook, much like Drew Benton, if we have a sight fishing thing, that is something. KG Queen, loves to sight fish, loves to fish shallow. Geographically, he's pretty close. Maybe he's got some experience here. It's hard to know. Brian New, I really thought hard and long about Brock Mosley and his prowess with a chatterbait, shallow cover. Scott Canterbury did good on Winyah Bay last time. I want to say he was runner-up. Cliff Pace could be banging some of those black label balsas around here. I'm going to go Brian Schmidt. Just his record on the Chesapeake and the Potomac and the James and the Mississippi and places like that is stout. Now, supposedly there's not much tide here, but it's just too hard for me not to pick Brian Schmidt in this venue. Finally, bucket A, you know, the Tin Man, John Cox, Definitely thinking about him here. The only thing that makes me a little concerned about John Cox is, running a tin boat. Does he have the fuel capacity? Can he make the same runs that some of these other anglers are? But maybe he also can get into some places they can't. So could be a double-edged sword for John Cox in the Vexus, this venue. Jason Christie coming off a spinnerbait win on Santee Cooper on Cypress Trees. Could he get another one here? That was on MPFL. This will be Bassmaster. Shane LaHue, North Carolina guy. Jay Shakurt seems to catch him no matter where we go. John Garrett's your AOI leader. Bill Lowen's got a win, a river guy. Swim jig should probably play here. Will Davis, some of the same things there. Bo Browning, can he channel some of his dad's prowess in the rivers and a chatterbait? Brian Smith being a California Delta guy. Caleb Kufal has had seen success. I can see him flipping his jig around. I mean, there's a lot of interesting anglers here in Bucket A, but ultimately, in Patrick Walters, we trust, and I'm just going to keep rolling with Patrick Walters until he lets me down. Geographically, he's pretty close. He did well at Winyah Bay. He seems like the kind of guy that's maybe even fished here before, so my roster, A through E. Love to hear what you guys think down in the comments, but let's jump over to the pick'em game. This is a much simpler game here. Just A or B, flip the coin. What do you want to do? Overall, I got 12 out of 21, so doing okay, not the greatest. Let's talk about the Pasquotank River. Matt Airy versus Shane LaHue. For some reason, I just trust the veteran grind for Matt Airy. Hank Cherry or Brandon Cobb. I'm going to stick with Brandon Cobb. I vision a buzzbait playing here. John Cox versus John Garrett. I'm going to go Tin Man here. I wouldn't be surprised if John Garrett caught him. They do a good job of making these matchups tricky. Bo Browning versus Evan Kung. I'm going to stick with Bo Browning. Kyle Patrick versus Kyle Welcher. I just think Welcher's got a little more veteran status, grew up fishing rivers, really understands current. Drew Benton versus Drew Cook. I feel like I should put up the meme here where it's like the picture, these are the two same things, right? I'm going Drew Cook. He's just doing better this year. He's had better finishes, got a little more momentum, a little more confidence probably. And then Timothy Doobie versus Mark Menendez. You got a veteran versus a second-year guy. I don't know if Tim being from New Hampshire has any title influence or experience. Mark's probably seen it all, but this one I'm going with, if we got wind and there's runs to be made, I just feel like Mark Menendez got some back problems and he may be choosing to play a little more conservative, whereas Tim Doobie's probably going to take that nice little mustache and send it if he needs to. All right, there's my pick'em picks. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Let's finish up with Drain the Lake in the tiebreaker weight. My Drain the Lake squad is strong. I am in the top 153. We're 99. We are way in the dark green. The Drain the Lake planner, the tool down in the description, has definitely helped me make really good decisions and stay really strong in Drain the Lake. And we're going to continue to leverage that this week and see if we can keep climbing up. Alphabetically trying to run through my picks here. For some reason, I scheduled Wesley Gorin here. We're just going to ride with it. I don't really know what I was thinking, but he did grow up on some of the, like the Coosa River. So we'll see if that plays well here. He is a scoping guy, but he definitely knows his way around a swim jig. We're putting in Kenta Kimura here. He's got a win on the James. He does well in these estuary fisheries. Although they're mostly in Bassmaster Opens where there's a ton of time for practice. We'll see if it translates this week, but with a big 8 angler roster, we're gonna take a shot with Kenta Kimura here. I'm inserting Brian New for this event. Get down into the S's. We're gonna take Brian Schmidt. We're gonna take Brian Smith. We're gonna take JT Tompkins with his win on the Chesapeake a couple years ago. We wanna hedge our bets where we're not all shallow power fishermen. We are gonna take some young blood. Alex Weatherall, I believe, has got quite a bit of experience based on our interview on our live streams that he feels pretty good about these type of fisheries. I guess I skipped over Jacob Porosnik. I think I like that as well. So our 8 anglers: Wesley Gore, Kenta Kimura, Brian New, Brian Schmidt, Bryant Smith, JT Tompkins, Alex Weatherall, Jacob Porosnik. And my tiebreaker, I'm thinking low 80s, 83 pounds, 7 ounces. I think there's talk about really big bags and big fish. Like we could see mid to upper 20-pound bags. So I'm thinking somebody gets, a mid to upper 20-pound bag and then backs it up with a handful of 18 to 20-pound bags to get to that low 80-pound. Not a lot of data. That's just my hunch. If you're intrigued by the Beat HellaBass group and you want to know how to sign up and you want to learn more about Omnia Pro and everything that's going on, make sure you check this video on the screen right here next.